What if the child you walked past on the street was yours and you had no idea? That thought struck David Whitmore like a lightning bolt the moment he saw her 8 years old playing a weathered violin on the grimy subway platform, completely unaware that the man frozen in the crowd might be the father she'd never met. She looked up, and her eyes, those unmistakable icy blue eyes, pierced straight through him. He couldn't breathe, couldn't move. The music she played was a piece from his past. The girl was a mirror from another life, and the name she whispered when he asked about her mother Emily, the woman he left behind, the woman he once promised forever to. Now standing in a world of noise and strangers, David felt everything crumble. Regret, shock, fear, but also something deeper, a second chance clawing its way out of the ashes of his past. He doesn't know it yet, but if he dares to follow this thread, everything, his empire, his legacy, his very identity will be shaken. Stay with us because what happens next will change everything you think you know about love, mistakes, and the power of music to heal what time tried to erase. Can just one melody reopen a wound that you have been trying to forget for 15 years? That was the thought racing through David Whitmore's mind as he stood frozen in the middle of a crowded New York sidewalk, his designer shoes dusted with grit, his phone buzzing endlessly with stock alerts he no longer cared about. He should have been in the back seat of his Mercedes headed uptown to a private equity dinner. Instead, he was standing outside a subway entrance completely captivated. It wasn't the crowd that drew him, it was the music. A haunting violin solo drifted through the city's chaos like a ghost from a different time. The tune Liebestraum by Liszt, a piece he hadn't heard since college. One he used to play himself back when music still meant something, before boardrooms and shareholder meetings swallowed his life. And then he saw her. Lily Carter, no more than 8, sat on a small wooden stool with a worn violin tucked under her chin. Her dress was plain but neat, her shoes scuffed, her braids crooked, but her music angelic. Eyes closed, brow furrowed in concentration, she played, as if her very soul was tethered to every note. David couldn't move, and when Lily opened her eyes, piercing ice blue eyes, something inside him shattered. They were his eyes, his exact shade, the same shade his mother used to say skipped generations. And just like that, the carefully constructed world he lived in began to tilt. He walked toward her like a man under a spell. The crowd thinned as she finished her piece. There was polite applause. Coins clinked in the red velvet-lined violin case. David bent down and placed several $100 bills inside. The girl's eyes widened. "Thank you, sir," she said shyly. "Did you like the music?" "I loved it," David replied, crouching to her level. "You play beautifully," she smiled, lifting the violin gently into its battered case. "What's your name?" "Lily Carter." The name hit him like a whisper from the past. "And you, David," he said. David Whitmore. He didn't expect the next line. Not in a million years. "Sir?" Lily bit her lip, then blurted out, "Do you have $1 million?" He blinked. "Excuse me, I need $1 million to save my mom," she said, eyes deadly serious. "Rosa says the doctors want a lot of money to make her better. And $1 million is a lot, right?" David's breath caught in his throat. "Yes," he said softly. "It is. Then maybe you could help. You look like someone who has a lot of money." He gave a broken laugh. She had no idea how right she was. Multi-millionaire real estate tycoon, investor, philanthropist on paper. But none of that mattered now, because something else had snapped into place. "What's your mom's name?" he asked, already knowing the answer. "Elena," Lily said, smiling. "She taught me how to play. She says music can fix the soul." David stood stunned. Emily Carter. He hadn't heard that name in 15 years. His mind raced backward to college campuses and violin recitals, to the girl with the chestnut hair and the voice like sunlight, to love letters passed between classes and promises whispered beneath autumn leaves in Central Park, to the woman his father made him leave behind. "You should meet her sometime," Lily chirped. "She says I have special eyes, like someone important." David's voice caught. "Where do you live, Lily?" "In Brooklyn, near Roosevelt Avenue." "I have to go, or Rosa will worry." He watched her disappear down the subway stairs, her violin case bouncing gently against her legs. He didn't move for several minutes. When he finally turned and walked away, his hands were shaking. Back at his penthouse on the Upper East Side, David poured himself a scotch but couldn't lift the glass. He stared out the window, but all he saw were those eyes. His eyes. On a child. It couldn't be a coincidence. In the back of his drawer, untouched for years, he pulled out a photo, Emily and him in Central Park, arms around each other, after her senior recital. He had planned to propose that day. The ring still sat in a velvet box never given. But his father, Robert Whitmore Sr., had crushed that dream. "She's not one of us," his father had said, cold as stone. "You marry her, I cut you off. You choose her, you choose poverty." David chose ambition. He hadn't heard from Emily since. She disappeared. No phone calls, no emails, nothing. Or so he thought. With trembling hands, he called his assistant. "Lauren, I need the best private investigator in New York. Tonight. Mr. Whitmore." "It's almost midnight," I said, "tonight." When the call ended, David sat back, the weight of regret pressing on his chest like an anchor. He had walked away once, maybe the biggest mistake of his life. But if Lily was his daughter and his gut told him she was, he wouldn't run this time. He would find Emily. He would find the truth. And he would do whatever it took to fix what he broke, even if it shattered him. "We're so sorry to pause here, but tell us, what would you do if you saw a child with your exact eyes playing a song from your past? Would you walk away, or would you follow the music?" If this story touched your heart so far, please tap the like button and send a heart. We have so much more to unfold in the next part. The next morning, David Whitmore sat in his sleek, glass-walled office on the 35th floor, but for the first time in years, the city skyline held no power over him. Normally, this view made him feel invincible, but now, it felt empty. He wasn't thinking about construction deals or quarterly reports. His mind was with a little girl in a subway station, Lily Carter, and the eyes she had unknowingly stolen from him. The music, the name, the timing, the aching pull in his chest that refused to be silenced. At precisely 8:00 a.m., a knock came at the door. Brian Walker, the private investigator, walked in. Sharp, discreet, and no nonsense. Just what David needed. "I found her," Brian said without preamble, dropping a folder onto David's desk. "Emily Carter, age 38, lives in a small apartment in Brooklyn. Single mother, diagnosed with late-stage breast cancer, receiving treatment at St. Grace Memorial Hospital, has a daughter, Lily, 8 years old." David's chest tightened. "No father listed, none," Brian replied. "But this might be important. 8 years ago, she tried contacting you. Repeatedly." David blinked. "What has she left messages at your office? Called your assistant, Mrs. Vasquez? According to my notes, your former secretary dismissed her as irrelevant. Apparently, the calls were never logged." David stood abruptly. "Are you telling me she tried to reach me when she was pregnant?" "Yes, and was told you weren't interested." For a moment, David couldn't breathe. All these years, he had believed she vanished, that she had moved on. But the truth was far crueler. She had tried, and someone else decided for him. He stared down at the photo in the folder, Emily in a hospital gown, pale but still radiant, a tired smile on her lips, her hand gently resting on Lily's head. Something inside him broke. "I need her address," he said. "Already in the file," Brian replied. "But," Mr. Whitmore tread carefully, "you're a stranger to that child." "To both of them." David nodded. "I won't stay a stranger for long." That afternoon, he stood across the street from a modest 3-story building in Brooklyn, watching a familiar figure with a violin case skip up the steps. "Lily." She paused to wave at an older neighbor, then disappeared inside. David stayed rooted to the sidewalk, unable to move forward. 1,000 emotions clashed inside him: regret, guilt, longing. What would he even say to Emily? "Hi, I abandoned you. Is our daughter mine? Also, I'm sorry it took me almost a decade to find you." He almost turned around. But then the door opened again, and there she was, Emily. Even frail and thinner than he remembered, she still took his breath away. Her hair was shorter now, wrapped in a scarf, her body slower, her face tired, but those eyes were still the same warm amber. The woman he had once wanted to marry, the woman he never stopped loving. She didn't see him. She was helping Lily with her coat, probably heading to another treatment. He watched as Lily kissed her on the cheek, hugged the older woman, Margaret the neighbor, and bounded off with her violin. David followed her again. This time not as a stranger, but as a man desperate to reclaim a part of his soul. At the subway station, he waited until she finished her piece. The crowd clapped. She smiled at him. "You came back," Lily beamed. "I told you I would," he said softly. "I brought you something." He handed her a yellow envelope. Inside several music sheets, Debussy, Vivaldi, Mozart, all original prints. Lily's mouth dropped open. "These are real." "They're yours," he said. "But they must cost a fortune." David smiled. "Some things are worth more than money." She looked up at him, tilting her head. "Are you rich?" He hesitated. "Yes, but not in the way you think." She giggled. "You sound like my mom. She says being rich in love is better." David's throat tightened. "She's a very smart woman," Lily paused. "Do you have a daughter?" The question struck him like lightning. "No," he said after a long pause. "Not that I know of." Lily looked at him curiously. "I think you'd make a good dad. You feel familiar." David's heart clenched. "I hope one day I can be." Just then, Margaret Dawson arrived to take Lily home. She gave David a suspicious look. Protective. Fierce. Just like Emily had always been about the people she loved. Lily introduced them. "This is Mr. David. He's really nice." Margaret narrowed her eyes. "David." "Whitmore." He nodded already, sensing the storm about to break. "Camilla, pack your things," she said sharply. "I need to speak to this man." Alone. Lily obeyed. Margaret waited until she was out of earshot. "What do you want?" she snapped. "I'm not here to hurt them." "Too late for that, don't you think?" David swallowed hard. "I didn't know. I swear to you, I didn't know about the baby. I didn't abandon them. Your friend tried to contact me. I was shielded. Shielded by your own secretary." "By my father's design," he said bitterly. "He controlled everything back then. I'm not that man anymore." Margaret crossed her arms. "Then prove it. Not to me, to Emily, to Lily. You don't just walk back into a child's life because you finally grew a conscience." "I'm not going anywhere," David said with quiet resolve. "Not this time." Margaret didn't say anything, but she didn't stop him either. That night he stood outside St. Grace Memorial Hospital, staring up at the windows, knowing she was in there, sick, vulnerable, and unaware of the truth about the man standing beneath her. He checked in as her brother to see her, sat beside her hospital bed watching her sleep, drinking in the face he hadn't seen in years. And when she opened her eyes and saw him, the world cracked open, her voice barely a whisper. "David." The guilt, the love, the years all rushed between them in an unspoken flood. "I'm here," he said, "and I'm not leaving again." We hate to pause right now, especially at such a moment, but let us ask you this. If you were in Emily's place, would you forgive David? Or is it too late for second chances? Let us know in the comments. And if this story is reaching your heart, please hit the like button and share the love. The moment Emily Carter opened her eyes and saw David Whitmore sitting at her bedside, time seemed to collapse. Her first instinct was disbelief. Then came the flood memories, heartbreak, love, long buried but never fully erased. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, her voice raspy but fierce. David leaned forward, his eyes glassy with emotion. "Emily, I didn't know. About the baby. About you being sick. If I had," she raised a weak hand. "Please, don't insult me with apologies 15 years too late." "I deserve that," he said quietly. "But I'm not here for forgiveness. I'm here for truth. For Lily. For you." Emily looked away, her throat tightening. "You don't get to claim her now, David. You made your choice." "I didn't," he said, almost pleading. "My father made it for me, and I let him. That was my mistake. But I won't make it again." Her eyes flickered. "So what, you show up now a hero, with your money and your guilt?" "No," he said, his voice steady. "I show up now with everything I have left to give. Not because I want to erase the past, but because I want to build a future. If you'll let me." Silence stretched between them. Emily's breathing was shallow, her body weak, but her spirit was sharp as ever. "You think you can just walk back into our lives and fix everything?" she asked, bitter but broken. David didn't flinch. "No, but I want to try. I want to be there for Lily, and I want to be here for you, however you'll let me." For the first time, her eyes softened, not with trust, but with exhaustion. "And maybe the faintest hope." "You'll have to prove it," she murmured. "I will," he promised, "to both of you." In the days that followed, David never left her side. He canceled meetings. He turned down conferences. He spent his mornings in the hospital with Emily, reading to her, helping with her treatments. In the afternoons, he picked Lily up from school or watched her practice violin. Margaret Dawson, once icy with suspicion, slowly began to thaw. The transformation wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, gradual, but real. One evening, David found Lily sketching music notes in a notebook. "What are you working on?" he asked. She smiled. "A song. It's called Gratitude. I want to play it at the hospital fundraiser next month." David's heart swelled. "That's beautiful. I want to help other kids like me," she said, "like Mom." Later that night, he brought the idea to Emily. "She wants us to play together," he said gently. "All three of us, at the recital." Emily laughed softly. "I haven't sung in years. I might fall apart on stage." "Then we fall together," he said. As a family, it took weeks of rehearsal. Emily's strength wavered, but her spirit only grew. David rented a small upright piano for the apartment. Their home, once quiet and fragile, was filled again with music, with laughter, with something they hadn't dared to name yet. Hope. The night of the fundraiser arrived. The auditorium at St. Grace Memorial Hospital was packed. Doctors, nurses, patients, families, local press. In front row, Margaret, with a camera in hand, tears already in her eyes. As the stage lights rose, Lily stepped forward, violin in hand. Her voice was strong, clear. "Hi, my name is Lily Carter. This is my mom and this is David. We're going to play a song I wrote called Gratitude, because love makes us brave." Then the music began. David on piano, Lily on violin. Emily, her voice weathered but warm, singing softly, each note carrying every ounce of life she still had. The song told a story of loss, of healing, of second chances. When it ended, the room stood in silence, then erupted in thunderous applause. Emily's eyes sparkled with tears, and David gently reached for her hand. "You're still the best voice I've ever heard," he whispered. She smiled at him for the first time in years. "And you're finally the man I always knew you could be." Weeks passed. Emily responded better than expected to the new treatment. The doctors were hopeful. Lily began teaching music to younger kids in the hospital. David, once consumed by ambition, found peace in simpler routines, cooking dinner, attending school plays, helping with homework. He sold his penthouse on the Upper East Side and bought a modest house in Brooklyn, just 3 blocks from Emily's old apartment. Not for status, but for roots. One Sunday afternoon, they hosted their first backyard concert. Folding chairs, lemonade, neighbors, laughter. Lily played Gratitude again, stronger, surer. David stood in the back arm around Emily, watching their daughter beam. Later that night, under the soft hum of porch lights, Lily curled up between them on a bench. "Mom," she asked. "Yes, baby. Can we play together every year?" Like a family tradition, Emily glanced at David. "I think we can do that." Lily smiled sleepily. "Then this is the best year of my life." And in that moment, David knew. He had spent years building skyscrapers, chasing wealth-earning titles. But nothing compared to building this life, this music, this family, a melody he never wanted to end. Now it's your turn. If you had one chance to make something right from your past, would you take it, or would fear hold you back? And what does family mean to you? Is it blood love or the people who choose to stay? We'd love to know what you think of this story. Did it move you? Comment number 3 if you felt it deeply. Number 1 if it didn't meet your expectations, and number 2 if it was somewhere in between. Also, tell us where you're watching from. We love hearing from our global community. And if this story touched your heart, please give it a like, send a heart, and share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances again.